The parents really liked it. Students really liked it. I'm Jess Calbreath. I'm the district lead counselor for Ben Lapine Schools in Central Oregon. I just finished my 5th year in Ben Lapine Schools, and this is my 3rd year in this role. And my role is really just to be a support to all the school counselors K-12 in our district. Really, we're on this journey to create a comprehensive school counseling program so that all students have access to, a robust counseling curriculum. So that's kind of my role, is to help lead and guide the counselors in that process. So that's what I do. We didn't have any sort of system before to support the college application managers. Our counselors and students were kind of just left to their own device. Obviously, we gave them resources. They're using Common App. They're using school-specific applications, and counselors were getting emails to be able to upload documents. So there was no real system in place. And I had moved here and came from a district that had a system, and I was just like, what are we doing here? And so SchooLinks was really able to come in and help with the management side, which helps with counselors, teachers, students, parents to be able to just realize where kids are at in the process, but also ensure that documents are getting sent, that we're not uploading a transcript one by one for each student as we send off a transcript, that everything's kind of seamless process. And I will tell you, that was the first thing that we did with SchooLinks, was getting College Application Manager up and running, because I felt that was going to get the most buy-in from counselors and families, because it's immediate gratification of a product to be able to, have the whole, I can see all my students, I can see what they need, I can see if they've sent their stuff in, they can see if I've sent my stuff in. It just made the process a lot easier. And so that was our first step in implementing SchooLinks. And I think everyone has been thrilled with the College Application Manager. In addition, we never really had data. It was all kind of, just kind of off of feeling, or maybe we did a Google survey, but now we actually have concrete data of this many kids applied to this many schools. Here are acceptances, denials, average GPA, average test score. So that's been really helpful to share with our community, and then have the incoming seniors each year be able to kind of see what previous students have done. So we're able to really track the data. And I think that for me as a data person, in terms of implementing a counseling program, it's very interesting to see where kids are going, because ultimately our goal is that we want every student to have a purpose and a plan after they leave high school. And so that kind of just having SchooLinks with the end of the year senior activity, as well as a College Application Manager, it really helps see kind of how we did. I love it. Well, we didn't really have any data before, so I don't know. But I think that's something we'll be looking at. We're still closing out the school year, and so final reports and stuff are getting sent. But it's just good to see application data. And I think we just assumed that all of our kids go to Oregon schools, or we had assumed that California schools were the second best. But really, University of Utah is coming in strong at the number 3. So just stuff like that of, we have a huge chunk of kids going somewhere that it was on our radar, but we didn't really think that was one of those top schools. So it's just been interesting to look at that. It's interesting to look at different school sites, because we're a large district in terms of the area covered in Central Oregon. So we have rural schools and more robust, called the west side of Bend, where there's probably going to be more applications. So seeing the differences between what Lapine is doing versus Summit versus Mountain View in terms of the amount of applications kids are applying to or submitting has been interesting. Yeah, we were looking, so in Oregon, we have an administrative regulation for every student to complete it's called an educational plan and profile, which includes a course plan. And it's supposed to be done grades 7 through 12. And we weren't really in alignment with that. People were course planning. Our middle school counselors didn't initially really do a lot of course planning. Sometimes we maybe would have done it in 8th grade before we send them off to high school, but it was very inconsistent. And then the same with high school. It was kind of happening during the forecasting process. We'd give a kid a sheet of paper and fill it out, but there was no real tracking and updating of a plan. And so we were really looking for a system that aligned with kind of that encompass college and career planning along with it, because you want kids to make decisions on their courses based on kind of where they think they're going to be in the future. And we were in this unique situation where I came into my role, and really we're trying to build this comprehensive school counseling program that looks at academics, college and career, and social emotional. And so we were really trying to build an entire program. And so we were looking for a system that would be able to kind of help us with at least a couple of those things. And so with the college application manager and then the course planning component, our counselors were thrilled because it's all in one place. It gets really difficult when we're having kids going to different locations to do things, and this kind of put it together so that the counselors can kind of lead the SchooLinks work initially in middle and high school. And so that was a shift for middle school, but I think it's been a good shift. I think they've realized the importance of having these kinds of conversations with middle school students to start thinking about what is the impact of my interests in middle school? How is that going to impact what I do in high school, which could then impact what we do post-secondary. So we had a lot of course cleanup to do here too. And so it's been a free-for-all in terms of we weren't aligned. And so we did a lot of course cleanup of, especially at the high school. So we started with high school. Everyone if they're taking Lit and Comp 1, that should be the same standards and look the same across all 4 or all 7 schools. So we had to do a lot of that before we implemented Course Planner. So that's why we waited for second year. So first year was College Application Manager. Second year was the Course Planner integration. And so we just tried it this year, which it went really well. So we focused on 8th, 9th, 10th, and 11th graders. And I would say, I think we finished with close to 90% of our students completed a course plan. Whether or not it was, fully completed with no mistakes was different. Because we also have a lot of diploma types. We have a change in graduation requirements. So I had to create a lot of diploma types in the system. Hopefully it will shake itself out once our grad classes filter out of the old diplomas versus the new ones. But it was a learning experience. It didn't come with any lack of hiccups. But I think this summer I'll spend some time cleaning up our courses, because that's what we've just discovered, that we have a lot of courses that are meeting different things. And so we just needed to do some cleanup. But the parents really liked it. Students really liked it. We really wanted to get the course planner done before they select their classes for the next year. So getting in front of them a month before they pick classes, so they can kind of really think about the implications of the courses that they pick, versus sometimes they're deciding their forecasting for the next year that day. And then they want to switch classes the next year. Yeah. So it's been helpful. It helps us align with what we're supposed to do as a district in terms of prepping kids for life after high school. So I think, it's been good. And then we like the idea that it carries with them, so that next year all they have to do is update it versus starting from scratch. Yeah. And we really are trying, just because, we're, I think, across the entire country in terms of we're facing cuts, where, we don't have a lot of wiggle room in our schedule. And so really emphasizing that the courses that you pick are what you have to take next year, because we build a master schedule, we build staffing around it, and there's not as much flexibility as there might have been a few years ago in terms of wanting to switch classes. And so this really helped them visualize kind of their 4 years. And I think hopefully, because it got parents' attention, kids' attention, to really just be I'm not just willy-nilly picking a class. There's a plan and progression based on my interests and needs. So we're hoping that it kind of helps facilitate. We're calling them course corrections now, not course changes. And we'll continue using it. Our goal is to also build a middle school course plan as well, but we need to do the same kind of cleanup that we did at high school with middle school. I don't want to load in a bunch of classes and then have everything switch. It's been a great learning tool for both students, but also counselors, just to kind of realize the importance of, I think a lot of times we get stuck in, especially at high school, really focusing on the academic side of things, because obviously we want kids to get a diploma, but it's really helped. I think it gives kids at their fingertips just easy ways to embed that college and career exploration versus us. We don't always feel like we have to get in front of them in a classroom to do the lesson. We're seeing kids that are going in there on their own and engaging in the not necessarily required activities. Or if like you have an advisory, it could be an advisory teacher that's helping facilitate. So it's an easier way to get curriculum to kids, and it's manageable for them to facilitate it themselves a little bit. Obviously, they have our support, but we don't have to be in front of them for them to be able to engage, if that makes sense. So I think it's been helpful. Yeah, it's just been really helpful. And I think especially at the middle school, our middle school counselors have really taken SchooLinks because they have an advisory program. And so they're able to embed it. And it was really nice to see the kids engaging with that kind of, who am I? What are my interests? How does this impact what I want to do after high school? And starting those conversations earlier versus us in the high school always felt like we were getting them in ninth grade and they hadn't, they pseudo thought about it, but they hadn't really engaged. And so I know our high school counselors were like thrilled talking to eighth graders this spring. They had done some activities in SchooLinks. They have some sort of post-secondary goal, and they had done a course plan. And so the conversations and questions that the kids were asking were just so much more advanced than they had been in the past. So the exposure earlier has been really helpful for us in high school to be able to really go even deeper. So we're really excited to see where in 5 years, when all this is started in sixth grade, where the kids will be. We're not going over the basics. We still have to go over the basics, but kids were aware of what the graduation requirements were before they got to us in ninth grade. And so you can do so much more with them then. And then I don't know if you know, like the Oregon, we have a new graduation requirement, and it's called Higher Ed Career Path Skills. And so every student in high school has to take this course. And so SchooLinks is going to be a component of that. And so standards of the course meet self-advocacy and self-investigation, post-secondary. They're their own standards for the course. But yes, it's like career exploration, college aspiration, for workforce readiness. And so what we did is now we've identified activities from SchooLinks that will be embedded in the course, and we'll be able to track those in SchooLinks to ensure that kids are meeting the graduation requirements. We'll see usage go up even more in high school because of this new course. It will be cool. SchooLinks has created this like tracker so that we can see that kids have met the curriculum standards within SchooLinks. So now they're even going to get even more, which is fun for the counselors because, more robust college and career planning with students because they'll have even more baseline. We'll see how it goes. First year's next year for this new class. But one of our district priorities is, we call it passion, purpose, and plan, is we want every student to leave with that. And so I think it really aligns with that goal. And so I created, newsletter at the beginning of the year. I took all the data from the previous year of how many applications did we send, how many acceptances, what were the top 10 schools kids applied to, what were the ones they went to, how many kids filled out the all this data. And the board and our cabinet were thrilled with that information because that's exactly what we're looking for. Is to ensure that kids are transitioning out of our schools into whatever their plan may be, ready to go. I think the reporting features has been helpful for admin, definitely. And it now aligns with that new graduation requirements. Even better. I think the thing I like about SchooLinks, just as the person that has to kind of lead the charge in the district in terms of getting the interactions with the SchooLinks customer, I always forget Cameron's role, but like customer management success. Yeah. It's been great. It's very easy to problem solve and troubleshoot or get ideas, ask questions, very responsive. And so I think that's even just the chat feature in SchooLinks as well, like for my counselors. It feels, sometimes when you buy a product, then it's as soon as you've paid the money, they're like, okay, see ya, like good luck. That's not what it feels like with SchooLinks. Like there's constant check-ins to make sure we're getting what we need, questions, like your IT department's working with our IT department. It feels very supportive and problem solving to make sure that the product is working for what we need versus, us having to fit into what the product is, if that makes sense. You see it with this SB3. You guys jumped on that, and which is like our higher ed career path, the new graduation requirement. And we're able to, how can we make SchooLinks work to support that versus the other way? The last 2 years have been a big lift in terms of my time for SchooLinks, but it's to see the collaboration and then the outcomes have been, I know our district has been really happy